Did you ever find it strange that in Gen 2, Pokemon Trainer Red had a Espeon on his team? There's no way he could have had this in the original games, right? But how would Espeon do in an actual Gen 1 playthrough? Psychic types are incredibly good, so maybe it's going to be awesome? I think it's going to be great. Espeon has a base special of 130, which would put it at one of the highest base specials in Gen 1. It also has an incredible 110 base speed. For the most part, its learnset actually translates quite well to Gen 1. I wanted this to be as accurate an experience for Espeon as possible, but it does have one big problem. It doesn't get confusion until level 16 in Gen 2. I'm definitely going to want at least level 10 to 12 for Brock. I don't think I'm going to be training all the way up to level 16 though. Confusion would be very good against Brock, but training that much just takes so much time. Plus with Tail Whip and Sand Attack, I feel like I can get through at a lower level, and I don't need to wait for 16. Only having Tackle and Tail Whip for the early game on Espeon is rough though. It's not the fastest start in the world. What's nice is we can catch a Pidgey while we're out here training, and I can name this Redbeard. Thank you so much Redbeard guy for subscribing. If you guys want to check out some more Pokemon ranking content and stuff like that, he has some great videos on his channel. But now that we're level 10, I'm going to go train up against the Light Years trainer just to get another level. With Sand Attack and Tail Whip, I think I can do this. But Diglett has a pretty high chance to crit, which can be an issue. So because I'm relying on luck somewhat for Sand Attack toward the end, I do get taken down once. I try again and get a win. If I had kept losing here, I probably would have just reset and trained in the forest before coming here or something like that. But luckily for today, this works out well enough. The battle against Brock is going to be slow going. I need to use Sand Attack in order to reduce the Geodude's chance to hit with Tackle. Espeon has quite low defense. And I'll put my DVs on the screen now that I got for this Espeon, but it doesn't have perfect DVs. I don't set these to be perfect at the beginning of the game. I re-roll a couple of times to get an Espeon that has good enough stats, and then I roll with that. For this type of run, I try to avoid manipulating the game too much to try to give these Pokemon a true experience for Gen 1. Once I make it past the Geodude, the Onix is somewhat straightforward. I just don't want to attack into his Bide. I have to use Tail Whip or Sand Attack in order to avoid stacking up damage. And once it's fully set up to -6 accuracy and defense, I have a pretty good chance of being able to win this fight. It is good that Espeon outspeeds here, but one problem is if I run out of Tail Whip and Sand Attack, which I pretty much do here. It luckily doesn't use Bide until the very end where I can just knock it out with Tackle anyway, and that gets me the win against Brock. After that, Espeon just doesn't really have any issues with the trainers on Route 3. It's strong enough that at least Tackle and Tail Whip can get it through all of these fights against the bugs. I'm just looking forward to having some psychic moves because those will really make Espeon better. I actually pick up the HP up here in Mount Moon as well, just for a little bit of bulk. Espeon is kind of a fragile Pokemon and I don't want it to get knocked out so easily. I was also walking around to try to find a Paris, which I do, and I name it Swooty when I catch it. Thank you so much Swooty for being subscribed. If you guys want to see your names pop up here, make sure to get subscribed. That's where I get all these names from. And feel free to leave a comment of anything you want to see for these videos. You're all awesome. Right before the Super Nerd, there's this Rocket in red and blue, and he has a Rattata and a Zubat. I went into this battle not really thinking it would be any problem. I mean, Rattata and Zubat are pretty easy to take out. But then I realized Espeon actually could struggle here. The Tail Whip from Rattata can actually stack well with the Supersonic of Zubat, and I knocked myself out. And normally Zubat's not an issue because you can knock it right out with Psychic moves, but I don't have one of those yet. I only get one of those against the Super Nerd when I hit level 16. And this will suddenly speed up Espeon a lot. A slow early game is definitely Espeon's biggest weakness. Now at level 16, I'm going to go ahead and fight Blue here on Nugget Bridge. I'm a little low level for this, but as long as the Pidgeotto doesn't hit me with anything too bad and not too many Sand Attacks hopefully, I should be able to win this. This first attempt though, it does a lot of damage right off the bat, and then Rattata takes me down to 1 HP. As I get to Squirtle, I know there's not really a good way for me to win this. I try to just test my damage here, but it takes me right out. The next battle, I actually get hit by Sand Attack, which is even worse, and I still have low health. But I get lucky against the Rattata and actually knock it out without missing. That means I get to Squirtle at actually higher health than last time, and as long as luck is on my side, I could take the win. From there, Nugget Bridge is going to be a breeze. Confusion is just one-hitting every single Pokemon you find here. Against the Rocket at the end, it's literally just 2 easy one-hits, and that's how all of the battles have been now that I have Confusion. In Red and Blue, there is no Charmander after Nugget Bridge, obviously. But Thunder Wave is still up here, and Espeon can learn that. I added this to its learn set because it learns Zap Cannon in Gen 2, but because it doesn't learn Thunderbolt or any electric attacking moves outside of Zap Cannon in Gen 2, I figured that maybe I shouldn't give it Thunderbolt. Some of the other Psychic types do get this, but I figured this could be maybe a difference for Espeon compared to the other Psychic types in Gen 1. And Thunder Wave will be immediately useful for Misty. However, for Starmie, it's going to resist my Confusion. But with Sand Attack and Thunder Wave, I can actually mess up the Starmie enough that it can't do consistent damage and I can slowly chip it away and get the win. With that, we have the easy route to the SSN where I have no issues, and then I can go pick up Body Slam. I gave this to Espeon because all the other Gen 1 evolutions get this, so it just felt right. I skipped Rest, but that's because I'm going to learn Recover. I put this in place of Morning Sun. I figured they would work basically the exact same in Gen 1 since there is no weather effects or time of day to change the effectiveness of Morning Sun. But Recover is going to be a more useful healing move, and I think that I'm just going to rely on that for this run. Now with the higher level and Confusion, the rival on the SSN is just not an issue at all. I can one-hit the Raticate and the Kadabra, which gets me to War Turtle at very high health. Paralysis and Sand Attack can really mess it up as well, and it just doesn't have very good damage against me, so it's just an easy win. Espeon is now on a roll. This thing is starting to get really good. Psychic types in Gen 1 are awesome, and I don't think this is going to really have any issues for the rest of the playthrough at this point. Next up is Surge, and he's just not that good ever in these Gen 1 games, but he does have 3 Pokemon in Red and Blue, so that does add a little bit of difficulty, I guess. I'm not particularly weak to his team though, and Confusion does good enough damage, plus my status effects like Thunder Wave can actually work against this Pokemon in Gen 1, so Espeon stomps all over him. With that, I'll start heading toward Rock Tunnel, and usually this junior trainer here on the way can be an issue, but with Confusion I can just one-hit every single one of her team members, so there's really nothing she can do against me. And that's also true of the self-destructing Hiker. Even though I'm not dealing super effective damage with Confusion, his Pokemon have such low special that they just go down anyway. And from there, we're into the mid-game. I'm actually not going to pick up as many items with Espeon because I do predict that it's going to have a very easy late game for this one. But what do you guys think about Red having this in Gen 2? The rest of his team is all Gen 1 Pokemon like Snorlax and the starters and obviously Pikachu, but it is a very good Psychic type and it adds some much needed coverage for his team, so I think it's probably good that they added it, but maybe it could have been something else that was more reminiscent of Gen 1, I guess. I do pick up Psychic on the way to Lavender Town for the rival fight, and this will be the main damage dealing move for Espeon for the rest of the game. Now that we're in Pokemon Tower, I can fight the rivals team, and this is going to be easy with Psychic. I do have the chance to learn Swift in this battle. I really didn't consider learning this move because Espeon's learn set is pretty simple. I'm just really planning on using Psychic, Body Slam, and Recover. I do have one extra move slot I could probably use for something like Swift, or maybe just Thunder Wave. I don't really know. Mimic is also available, but I just don't think it's going to be very useful for Espeon. After beating the rival, and the Ghastlies in Pokemon Tower, and even the Team Rocket members at the top, you can see that my confidence in Espeon has been well placed. This thing is just breezing through these guys. We can pick up our Pokeflute and we can head to Celadon City in order to fight Erica. I can actually fight Erica's gym right away. I don't really need the extra training that I would do in her gym or in the bike route. I can just go straight into this. Espeon has the type advantage here, and they just can't really do anything against me with my really high special. Luckily for Espeon, it's not weak to poison type moves, so they really just don't have an answer for it. After that, I have some items I need to pick up in the bike route, in the Safari Zone, I need to get Surf, and I can head back to Saffron in order to clear the Sylph building. Here, there's a couple of vitamins that are nice to have, and a rare candy, and the Rockets all have poison type Pokemon which are easy to take out. I get to the guy with the Arbok, and sometimes he can inflict paralysis if you can't knock him out in one hit, but Espeon has no problem with that today, and it can get the card key without any issue. And from there, it's ready for the rival. I would say that this rival fight is typically the one where he starts to actually get pretty strong. A lot of the fights leading up to this, like the SSN or the Pokemon Tower, are just very easy because he's not quite up to par for the level curve of the area. At this point, since I didn't fight any of the Rockets in the Game Corner hideout, and I skipped Giovanni in that section because I got the Pokédoll, the level curve suddenly takes off a little bit, and you can see that Espeon is suddenly a little bit underleveled. I'm not too worried about it here, even with the Sand Attack from Pidgeot messing me up a little bit. The rest of his team really just doesn't stack up that well. Execute can be a little bit annoying because it does resist my main attack Psychic. Body Slam only does okay damage, at least we have the badge boost to make its attack a little bit better. It's good enough to take out the Kadabra at least. But being paralyzed by the Execute is actually a death sentence once I get to Blastoise. Just because it has decent enough damage with Water Gun is just not good at all, and it just takes me right out. I go into this battle again, I still have my accuracy dropped right off the bat, which is just not that fun. I'm able to get to the Execute without taking any damage though. I do still get paralyzed. I paralyze it back though, so I guess that's fair, right? But then I have to go the rest of this fight with this status condition, and even if I was to heal it, I would still be slower than both of his remaining Pokemon. Luckily Kadabra can't do much against me, and I actually get to the Blastoise at decent health. This gives me enough to get through the fight, and I'm only level 38 getting to Giovanni. I haven't used any rare candies. I'm going to try to use them at the very end of the game and try to get as many levels as possible with as little training as possible. That's the plan. What's good is Giovanni's team actually either has very low special or is weak to psychic moves, so I don't think Espeon's going to have any issues here or in the 8th gym. I think it's going to go very well. Once I defeated Giovanni, I got to go back for Lapras. I totally forgot this. I'm used to playing Pokemon Yellow where I get Squirtle instead, but we named Lapras Yum. Thank you so much, Yum, for being subscribed. You're awesome. And with that, since I'm already in Saffron City, I figured I could just go to Sabrina now. I mean, she just doesn't have very much damage against me since I'll resist all the psychic moves, and Venomoth will actually be weak to psychic, which is kind of nice. So as long as I don't get confused and I can use Thunder Wave and Sand Attack to kind of slow them down, I think I can take this fight at this level. Which turns out to be true. Sabrina does have Recover on her Alakazam, which slows down the fight a little bit. I can slowly take it down since the paralysis will make sure it can't move sometimes, and I will eventually be able to knock it out. It does feel weird beating her first before Koga because I never do that. But now, we can go over to Fuchsia City and fight him. And obviously Koga's team is going to stack up very poorly against Espeon. Being all poison type Pokemon, he just does not have anything that can really hurt me except for maybe self-destruct on the last Weezing or if he had hit me with Toxic. But his team just goes down in a series of one-hits. I do have the chance to learn Haze, which would have been Psych Up in Gen 2, but I just didn't plan on using either of these moves, so I don't learn it here. With that, I pick up Strength and the rare candy in the Warden's house, and we can head to Cinnabar Island. I pick up the vitamins and the rare candy in the Pokemon Mansion, as well as the secret key to get to Blaine, and we can just go straight to Blaine's fight. Now, Blaine is notoriously bad in Red and Blue. He's much better in Yellow, but in Red and Blue he leads with a Growlithe and a Ponyta, which against Espeon just don't stack up well at all. His strongest is his Arcanine, but it just doesn't have the best moves, and even though it has a 5-level advantage, my special is just so high that I can knock it out with a couple uses of Psychic. And with that, I only have one gym badge left, and that's Giovanni. So I'll fly back to Viridian City and we can challenge him. While he's a nightmare for Jolteon and Flareon, Espeon has no issues at all. I can't use Thunder Wave in order to paralyze them, and there's no Persian that has Double Team that I can mimic, but really all I need is Psychic. His whole team just doesn't stack up very well against Psychic Pokemon, which is great for me. Espeon's just on a roll. It only has 5 resets and it's looking like it could get to the end of the game in under an hour. But we have the rival, the last trainer before the Elite Four. But now, without Sand Attack on his lead Pidgeot, he just doesn't have anything that would really mess me up too badly, which is great because I can get to the Execute at full health, but I do get paralyzed here. That just seems inevitable in this fight, unfortunately. Espeon just doesn't have anything that it can use to take out Execute really quickly. Luckily, a critical hit from Body Slam speeds it up a little bit, and Solar Beam doesn't do that much damage, so Alakazam isn't an issue. I can also paralyze the Blastoise with Thunder Wave in order to even the playing field. And I do take a massive hit there, but Espeon pulls through and we can take the win against Blastoise and we can beat the rival for the last time before the champion fight. And from there, we're off to the Indigo League. I can bike through Victory Road and head off to heal my Pokemon before the fight. And right here, there's a weird visual bug. My Repel wears out, and for some reason, the sprites like rearrange on the screen. Gen 1 is so weird. I don't know why this happened. I've never seen that before, but I wanted to leave that in the video here. But I can pick up my full restores and start prepping for the league. I do think that level 46 is too low in order to go against Lorelei. So I am going to raise up my level to 50 with some rare candies, and then I can start the battle against Lorelei. She leads with the Dugong, and I hit Psychic, which actually does a ton of damage. She hits a Growl, which actually badge boosts my special, so I kind of think that's a good thing. Cloyster doesn't quite go down in a single hit, which is a little unfortunate, and I am at like half health when I get to the Slowbro. I know that Slowbro is going to be slow to take out, but luckily it doesn't do any damage to me while I just slowly take it out with Body Slam. That gets me to Jinx, which I can paralyze, but it is just slowly chipping away at me, and I just think this is getting a little too low. I think that Lapras now is in range to just take me out within a single hit, which it does, and that gives me another reset. We go back in and I use Psychic again on the Dugong, get hit by Growl, just the same thing. I get badge boosted there. Psychic still does not quite take out Cloyster, but this time it just misses a Supersonic. So I'm actually full health going to the Slowbro. A crit as well speeds that up. I mean, Espeon's chance to crit is really high because of its base speed, which is nice. That does help us get through Jinx and get to Lapras at pretty decent health actually. We can tank a hit and we can just take it out with Psychic. After Lorelei, there's the random hiker with a bunch of Pokemon that are just no challenge at all. But in this battle, I do reach level 52. That's the most notable thing here. I can actually replace Sand Attack with Recover. But the rest of this fight is very confusing. I really don't know why he's here. And with that, I'm on to Agatha. Now I don't have Mimic in order to steal Substitute like I would in Yellow, but that's not really possible anyway. But I think Psychic is going to be just fine. All of her Pokemon are weak to Psychic moves, and they actually can go down pretty easily. Espeon's high special will actually match Gengar's, so it does pretty good damage. As long as I don't get put to sleep and messed up too much, her fight is actually one of the easier ones as well. And that brings Espeon to the Dragon Master Lance. He does have some good physical damage, and I'm realizing now that I probably could have used Reflect instead of Thunder Wave as my 4th move for this set. I wasn't too worried about it though, but in my first battle I just played dumb and just kind of forgot about Recover. I should have been healing along the way, I just wasn't really thinking about it, just trying to hit Psychic and take them out as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, Aerodactyl lands a takedown, and that takes Espeon out. I go back in and I realize my mistake. Obviously, Recover is way more useful than I was giving it credit for. Just keeping my health a little bit higher is going to make it much better, and Aerodactyl can't just knock me out right away. Psychic is doing great damage here, but not quite enough to take out the Dragonairs, which is a little bit annoying. I can paralyze the Aerodactyl in order to cut its speed and also make it less consistent so I can heal up if needed. And that gets me to Dragonite. So I thought I had this, and then I get hit by Hyper Beam and taken out from pretty decent health, which I wasn't expecting. So that's a little rough. I go back in against Gyarados, and I'm trying to think through the Dragonite at the end and think what I need to do, and then it gets a crit with Hyper Beam and knocks me out from full health. So that's not great. I use some rare candies to get up to level 55, and I try it again, and I get to Dragonite again, and this time I'm at still decent health. I can use Thunder Wave in order to cut its speed, and then I can heal up to full. And then a slam critical hit nearly takes Espeon out from full health. That's really scary, but I can heal up, and it hits another critical hit and almost takes it out again. I can't quite heal fast enough, and a Hyper Beam takes Espeon down. With that loss, I'm now at 10 resets, and I just want Espeon to get this win, so I use the rest of my rare candies to get to level 60. This gives Espeon much better damage against the Dragonairs as well, so they go down in a single hit, and they don't have a chance to cause any damage. Thunder Wave against Aerodactyl makes it less consistent and slow, just like before. Recover helps me stay at full health in case of critical hits, and a critical hit Psychic actually takes it right out. I paralyze the Dragonite as well. A Psychic now does more than half. Hyper Beam does incredible damage, which would have knocked me out at level 55, but luckily Espeon hangs on, gets the last hit with Psychic, and we can finally beat Lance. That felt like the biggest challenge of the run, but we do have one more difficult fight to go, so let's just go right into it. I get a critical hit right off the bat against this Pidgeot, which is nice because physical damage is apparently Espeon's biggest weakness. From there, Alakazam is pretty easy. It doesn't quite go down in one hit. Rhydon almost goes down in one hit, but it just does a Fury attack that hits twice, so that's really not bad at all. And while I can't knock out Arcanine in a single hit, it doesn't have anything really that bad. Its worst thing it can do is Takedown, so I'm not really worried about that, but the Exeggutor could really mess me up. I just can't do any good damage against it with Body Slam or Psychic. As you probably know, the sleep status in Gen 1 is just broken. So I'm really worried about getting put to sleep and then just slowly battered down with either Stomp or Barrage. But the combination of Thunder Wave and Recover can really help Espeon here. It doesn't quite go down, it does get battered quite a bit, but I can make it to Blastoise at decent health, we can tank a Blizzard, and I can take it out with Psychic. That means Espeon has beaten Red version at 1 hour, 3 minutes, and 9 seconds with 10 resets and a game time of 3 hours and 46 minutes. As expected, this thing is awesome in Gen 1, but it kind of has a slow start. I think it did very well, and it was really fun to play. If you liked the video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. There will be more of this type of video coming soon. Thank you so much for watching, but until next time, have a wonderful day.